I live in a cabin off the gravel road in Black River Township, deep in the Ozark National Forest of Missouri. The map says I'm on private land, but the truth is, I'm just a tenant here. I'm a guest in a world that most people don't even know exists. Before I die, someone needs to know what happened. Not for fame, and not for money. I'm doing this because the world is getting louder, and the things I've protected are running out of time. I'm not asking anyone to believe me. I know how this sounds. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking I'm a lonely old man with too much whiskey and too much time on my hands, spinning yarns to fill the silence. But I saw something impossible. I did something that changed my life forever, and the cost of keeping this secret was everything I thought I wanted. A normal family, a steady career, a life without looking over my shoulder. If you're new to this channel and you enjoy these kinds of stories, go ahead and hit subscribe. It helps keep the lights on and the archive safe. If you want to support the work directly, there's a link for channel members and coffee tips in the description. But honestly, if you're here, you're already part of this. You want the truth. So let me tell you. It started in November of 1984. I was 28, working as a land surveyor for a timber company. I was young, fit, and arrogant. I thought I knew every inch of the woods in this county. I had a rifle propped by the bed of my pickup, a pack of cigarettes, and a theodolite on my shoulder. I was out on a ridgeline marking boundaries for a logging tract that would have been called the Hollow Ridge Operation. The company wanted to clear everything past the creek. I was the one who had to flag the trees. It was a cold day, the kind of Ozark cold that gets into your bones and makes your breath plume like smoke. The leaves were gone, and the world was gray and brown. I was working near a limestone outcrop, a rocky shelf that dropped off into a steep ravine. I had just finished marking a cluster of white oaks when I heard a sound. It wasn't a bird, it wasn't the wind. It was a wet, ragged gasp, followed by a low, rhythmic thrumming, like a chest vibrating against a hollow log. I froze. My training kicked in. I checked the wind. It was blowing toward me. I moved slowly, stepping carefully over the deadfall, trying to locate the source. I thought it was a bear, maybe a wounded one. Bears in the late fall can be aggressive if they're hurt. I gripped my rifle, keeping it low but ready. I crested the ridge and looked down into the ravine. There was a snare, a heavy steel trap, the kind used for coyotes and wolves, set on a game trail near a spring, and caught in it was something. At first glance, my brain tried to categorize it as a large dog. It was quadrupedal, covered in dark, matted fur that looked almost black in the shadows. But as I got closer, my stomach dropped. The posture was wrong. The shoulders were too broad, the spine too upright. Even while trapped, the creature was trying to rise. Its head was too long. The ears were set too high on the skull. And then I saw the hands. They were resting on the rock beside the trap. They had fingers. Too many fingers. I counted 4 long digits and a thumb that was opposable, but the joints were reversed, bending backward. The skin between the fingers was webbed, thick and leathery. The nails were not claws, they were flat, like fingernails, but black and thick as coins. I lowered the rifle. I knew, in that moment, that this wasn't a bear. It wasn't a wolf. It was something else. Something that shouldn't be there. The creature was young. I'd guess it was the size of a large man, maybe 6 feet tall, but it was curled up in the trap, its leg caught in the steel jaws. Blood was dark and thick on the rock. It was whimpering, a sound that was half animal, half human, a high clicking whine. I should have walked away. I should have called the game warden. I should have done what any sane person would do. But I was 28, and I had a heart that couldn't ignore suffering. I stepped down into the ravine. I spoke softly, trying to calm it. "Easy now. I'm here to help." The creature looked up. That's the moment that changed everything. I saw its face. It had a muzzle, but it was shallow. The nose was flat, with wide nostrils that flared as it breathed. The eyes were the worst part. They were amber, but they had no whites. Just a solid, molten pool of gold. And they were intelligent. They held fear, yes, but they also held a recognition. It looked at me, and I felt like it was reading my soul. It didn't see a predator. It saw a threat, but it also saw a choice. I knelt beside the trap. The creature hissed, a sound like steam escaping a valve, and tried to pull back. I had to be careful. I pulled the release pin on the trap, but the metal was rusted and stiff. I had to use my hands to pry the jaws open. The creature thrashed, its webbed fingers digging into the rock, leaving deep gouges. I held its leg steady with my left hand while I worked the trap with my right. The fur was coarse, warm, and smelled of musk and pine resin. With a final grunt of effort, the trap sprang open. The creature scrambled back, limping, clutching its leg. It stood up. It was tall. Even hunched, it was taller than me. I stood, keeping my hands open, palms out. I backed away slowly. The creature watched me. It didn't run. It stood there, swaying slightly, its chest heaving. It made a sound, a low rumble that started in its throat and vibrated through the air. It wasn't a growl, it was a pattern. Click, rumble, click, like a code. I nodded, once. "You're hurt. I'll leave you alone. Stay here." I turned and walked back up the ridge. I didn't look back, but I knew I was being watched. I felt the weight of those amber eyes on my back until I reached the tree line. I spent the night in my cabin, tossing and turning. I couldn't shake the image of those hands, those eyes. I told myself I was hallucinating. I told myself it was a deformed bear. But I knew what I saw. The next morning, I woke before dawn. The sun was just bleeding over the horizon, turning the fog to gold. I stepped out onto my porch, coffee in hand, rifle on the table within reach. I looked toward the ridge. He was there. Standing at the edge of the woods, 50 yards from my cabin, was a figure that made the creature from yesterday look like a child. This one was massive, 8 feet tall, maybe more. The posture was perfect. Upright, shoulders squared, chest broad. The fur was darker, a charcoal black that seemed to absorb the light. The face was older, scarred, with a brow ridge that jutted out like a stone shelf. The eyes were the same amber, but they were cold, calculating. He held a bundle in his hands. It was wrapped in bark and tied with vines. He didn't move. He just stood there, staring at me. I set the coffee down. I didn't reach for the rifle. I raised my hand slowly. "I'm Gerald," I said. My voice shook, but I kept it steady. "I helped your son. I didn't hurt him." The figure tilted his head, a movement so precise, so human, that it made my skin crawl. He made a sound, a deep, resonant click that echoed off the limestone cliffs. Then he stepped forward. One step, then another. He walked with a rolling gait, his hips swaying, his arms hanging loose but balanced. He stopped 10 yards away. He placed the bundle on a flat rock. Then he stepped back. I walked down from the porch, keeping my movements slow. I approached the rock. I picked up the bundle. It was heavy. I unwrapped it. Inside were medicinal plants. I recognized some of them: yarrow, goldenrod, and something I didn't know, a root with purple veins that smelled of mint and iron. These were healing herbs. He was offering medicine. He was saying, "I know you helped him. I know you have knowledge. I accept your aid." I looked up. The figure was watching me. He pointed a long finger at the ridge, then at my cabin. He made a gesture, a sweeping motion of his hand indicating the boundary. "This ridge is ours. Your cabin is yours. Stay off the ridge. We stay off your land." It was an agreement, a treaty. I nodded. "I understand. I won't cross the ridge." The figure rumbled again, a low, approving sound. He turned and walked back into the woods. He didn't run. He walked with dignity, disappearing into the trees as if he had never been there. That was the beginning. Over the next few years, the relationship deepened. The young one, the one I rescued, became a regular visitor. I started calling him the Humanoid. I know, that's a clinical term. But in my head, it was the only word that fit. It wasn't a Sasquatch, not exactly. It wasn't a dogman. It was something else. Something that walked like a man but lived like a beast. It had the intelligence of a human and the instincts of a predator. The Humanoid came to the cabin every few weeks. He would bring gifts. Sometimes it was game, a deer carcass, perfectly field-dressed, left on the stump by the door. Sometimes it was objects. I found a carved stone, smooth as glass, with a spiral pattern etched into it. I found a bundle of dried herbs, labeled with a specific arrangement of twigs that I learned to read. He was teaching me what the forest could give and what it demanded. In return, I left offerings. Canned goods at first: beans, peaches, salt. I learned that he liked salt. I learned that he hated processed sugar. I learned that he preferred the taste of raw meat over cooked, but he would accept the salted pork if it was offered. The gifts were a language. We were speaking a language of trade and respect. But the father, the alpha, was always watching. He never came close to the cabin. He stayed on the ridge, but I knew he was there. I'd find tracks near the tree line that were too large for any bear. I'd hear the rumbles at night, low vibrations that shook the floorboards. The alpha was the guardian. He was testing me. Every time I left a gift, he was watching to see if I was honest. Every time I stayed off the ridge, he was noting it. Life changed for me. I quit the surveying job. The timber company didn't understand why I was turning down contracts. I told them I wanted to go freelance. The truth was, I couldn't focus on work when I had a responsibility to the woods. I needed to be here. I needed to maintain the cabin, keep the perimeter clear, watch for trespassers. My life became quiet. I stopped going into town. I stopped seeing friends. I became a ghost in Black River Township. People thought I was eccentric. They thought I was a recluse. I didn't care. I had a purpose. In 1987, my wife Teresa left me. Teresa was a good woman. She came from a small town nearby. She married me because she liked the quiet, because she liked the idea of living in the woods. But she couldn't handle the silence. She couldn't handle the way I'd spend hours staring at the ridge. She couldn't handle the way I'd wake up in the night, listening for the rumbles. "You're talking to yourself, Gerald," she told me one evening. We were sitting on the porch. The sun was setting. "I hear you. You're muttering. You're nodding at the trees." I didn't deny it. "I'm watching, Teresa. There's something out there. Something important." She looked at me with pity. "There's nothing out there. It's the woods. It's the wind. You're alone, Gerald. You're letting the isolation eat you. She tried to make me see reason. She tried to take me to doctors. She tried to get me to go to church, but I couldn't explain. How do you tell someone that a creature of impossible anatomy, a being that speaks in clicks and rumbles, has made a pact with you? How do you tell someone that you're the keeper of a secret that could get you killed? Teresa left in the spring of '87. She took her clothes and her dog. She didn't look back. I stood on the porch and watched her truck disappear down the gravel road. I felt a hollow ache in my chest, but I also felt a strange relief. The lie was over. I was alone now, and the silence was mine. I threw myself into the work. I learned to track. The humanoid taught me. He would leave signs. A broken twig here, a disturbed patch of moss there. He was showing me how to read the forest. I learned to spot a track that was only a month old. I learned to identify the difference between a bear's paw and the humanoid stride. I learned to listen to the birds. When the crows went silent, it meant danger. When the owls hooted in a pattern, it meant the humanoids were gathering. I became a master of the woods. I could survive in the wilderness for weeks. I could find water, build shelter, cook game, but I never hunted the humanoids. That was the rule, the agreement. We were not prey, we were neighbors. In 1990, the humanoid began to mimic sounds. It started small. He would click in rhythm with the rain. He would rumble when the wind blew through the pines. But then, one evening, he spoke. I was sitting on the porch whittling a piece of cedar. The humanoid was standing at the tree line, holding a bundle of berries. He looked at me, and he made a sound. Gerald. It wasn't perfect. It was a click rumble that shaped the syllables. Gerald, Gerald. It was halting, broken, but it was a word, a human word. I dropped the knife. My heart hammered. You know my name. He tilted his head. He made the sound again. Gerald. Then he pointed to the berries. Eat. He was learning. He was learning from me, just as I was learning from him. The bond was mutual. It wasn't just protection, it was communication. We were bridging the gap between species. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the porch with a bottle of whiskey, tears streaming down my face. I was 68 years old now, in my mind, even though I was only 30. I felt old. I felt the weight of the years. I felt the loneliness, but I also felt the connection. I had a friend who was not human, but who was worthy of friendship. The years passed. The relationship endured. But the world outside the woods was changing. Technology was creeping in. In 1993, a crisis came. A group of hunters trespassed on my land. They were from the city. They had a guide who claimed to know the trails, but he didn't. They were looking for deer, but they were also looking for legends. I heard rumors that people in Black River were talking about the humanoid. They were calling it a monster. They were offering rewards for pictures. The hunters set up a camp in the lower valley, just below my cabin. They had dogs. 2 German shepherds. I knew what dogs did. Dogs would find them. Dogs would bark. Dogs would bring the alpha down. I had to act. I couldn't let them find the humanoids. If they found them, they would kill them. Or worse, they would expose them. The secret would be out. The world would come. The woods would be destroyed. I waited until nightfall. I took my rifle, not to shoot, but to threaten. I moved through the woods, silent as a shadow. I found the camp. The hunters were asleep. The dogs were tied to a tree. I approached the dogs. I spoke to them in a low, rumbling voice. I made the clicking sound the humanoids use. The dogs whined, their ears flattening. They sensed the predator. They sensed the wrongness. I didn't hurt them. I just made them afraid. I broke their leashes. I pointed them toward the ridge. I made the sound that meant go. The dogs ran. They barked, waking the hunters. The hunters panicked. They grabbed their rifles, thinking something was attacking. They fired shots into the dark. The noise echoed through the valley. I knew the alpha was listening. I knew the humanoids were gathering. I had to create a distraction. I threw a flare into the trees near the camp. The red light flared, illuminating the shadows. I made a loud noise, banging a metal pot against a rock. I shouted, "Get out! Get out of here!" The hunters saw the flare. They heard the noise. They saw the shadows moving in the trees. They thought it was a bear. They thought it was a wolf. They didn't think it was a humanoid, but they were scared. They packed up their gear and ran. They fled down the valley, leaving their camp behind. I cleaned up the evidence. I hid the flare. I made sure there were no tracks leading to the ridge. I lay low for 3 days. I knew the alpha would be angry. The hunters had violated the boundary. The dogs had been a threat. 2 days later, the humanoid came to the cabin. He was angry. His posture was stiff. His rumbles were sharp. He pointed at the valley. He made a sound that meant, "Danger, pass." He pointed at me. He made a sound that meant, "You did well." He brought a gift, a dead deer. But this deer was different. It had been killed with precision. No blood wasted. He was saying, "I am strong. I can protect you. I can punish the trespassers. But I trust you to keep the secret." I accepted the gift. I thanked him. I made the gesture of respect. The alpha came to the ridge that night. I saw his silhouette against the moon. He rumbled a long, low sound. It was a warning. This is the last time I'll go knock. I knew the hunters would be back, or others would come. I had to be more careful. I installed a trap line on my property, not for animals, but for intruders. I set up noisemakers. I learned to camouflage the cabin. I became a master of deception. In 1998, another crisis. A documentary crew. I found a trail camera on my property. It was hidden in a bush facing the stump where I left gifts. I went to the camera. I found the memory card. I took it. I didn't destroy the camera. I moved it. I pointed it toward a bear den. I wanted them to see a bear. I wanted to mislead them. I went to town. I found the owner of the camera, a guy named Matlock. He was running a show called Ozark Mysteries. He was looking for the humanoid. I sat down with him. I lied. I told him I'd seen a bear. I told him I'd seen tracks. I gave him false leads. I sent him to the wrong ridges. I wasted his time. I made him chase ghosts. Matlock was persistent. He came back to Black River. He set up more cameras. He hired locals to watch the trails. I had to stay vigilant. I spent nights in the woods, moving cameras, destroying lenses, creating confusion. I became a guardian of the secret. I protected the humanoids from the eyes of the world. The humanoid noticed. He came to me less often. He was cautious, but he trusted me. He left gifts that were more complex. He carved symbols into the wood. He arranged stones in patterns. He was communicating with me, even when he couldn't come close. We were still bonded. In 2005, the humanoid aged. He was no longer the young creature I rescued. He was middle-aged now. His fur was graying at the muzzle. His movements were slower. He had scars from fights with rivals. He had the weight of leadership on his shoulders. One evening he came to the cabin. He was limping. His leg was injured. A deep gash on his thigh. He was bleeding. He couldn't stand. He collapsed against the porch railing. I rushed to him. I didn't hesitate. I pulled him up, supporting his weight. He was heavy, dense with muscle. I dragged him inside the cabin. I laid him on the rug. I went to the medicine cabinet. I took the herbs he had given me. I made a poultice. I cleaned the wound. I bandaged it. The humanoid watched me. His amber eyes were dim, but they were focused. He didn't struggle. He leaned against me. He let me touch him. He let me tend to him. This was the moment of vulnerability, the moment of trust. He was letting me, a human, heal him. He was showing me that he was mortal. He was showing me that he needed me. I worked for hours. I cleaned the wound. I applied the herbs. I wrapped the bandage. When I finished, the humanoid sat up. He looked at me. He made a sound. Safe. It was a word. Broken, but clear. Safe. He was thanking me. He was acknowledging that I had kept him safe, that I had honored the agreement. He stayed in the cabin for 2 days. I fed him. I gave him water. I sat with him on the floor, talking to him. I told him about Teresa. I told him about my life. I told him about the loneliness. He listened. He rumbled in response. He made the clicking sounds. We were conversing. On the 3rd day, he was strong enough to walk. He stood up. He looked at me. He pointed to the woods. He made the sound that meant go. He was leaving. But before he went, he did something. He reached out and touched my shoulder. His hand was warm. His fingers were long. He pressed his hand against my shoulder, a gesture of comfort, a gesture of brotherhood. Then he walked out. He didn't look back. I never saw him again. In 2010, I found him. I was tracking a deer. I found a clearing in the ridge. The humanoid was there. He was dead. He lay on his back, his chest still. His amber eyes were closed. His hand was resting on a stone. The stone was carved. It was a spiral. The same spiral I had found years ago. He had died naturally. He was old. His time was done. I sat with him. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I sat in silence. I felt the grief. It was a heavy, dark weight. I had lost my friend. I had lost my guardian. I knew I couldn't bury him. I couldn't take him. He belonged to the woods. I made a fire. I burned the herbs. I made a smoke signal. I waited. The Alpha came. He came with others. 3 figures, tall and dark. They gathered around the humanoid. They made a sound, a dirge, a low, mournful rumble that vibrated through the ground. It was a funeral song. It was a song of loss. It was a song of respect. I watched them. I stood at the edge of the clearing. I was invited. I was part of the ritual. They didn't attack me. They didn't hide from me. They acknowledged me. The Alpha looked at me. He rumbled. He made a sound. Gerald. He said my name. In the funeral, he honored me. He honored the pact. I nodded. I made the gesture of respect. I stepped back. I let them take him. They carried him into the woods. They took him to the hollows, the sacred places where the dead are returned to the earth. I stood there until they were gone. Then I walked home. I sat on the porch. I drank whiskey. I waited. The woods were quiet. The silence was different. It was empty. I had lost my connection. I felt alone. I felt old. I felt the weight of mortality. I knew the humanoid was gone, but I knew the lineage continued. I knew the Alpha would raise a new generation. I knew the pact would endure. but I was aging. I couldn't keep the secret forever. I needed a successor. I have a grandson, Jimmy. Jimmy is 22. He's smart. He's curious. He's not afraid. He comes to visit me every summer. He likes the woods. He likes the silence. He's learning to track. He's learning to survive. I'm introducing him to the legacy. Last summer, Jimmy found a gift. He found a carved whistle on the stump. He didn't know what it was. He blew into it. It made a sound. A clicking, rumbly sound. The sound of the humanoids. Jimmy laughed. He thought it was a toy. He didn't know. I watched him. I saw the alpha watching him. The alpha was testing Jimmy. Jimmy made the sound back. He mimicked the click. He showed respect. He showed curiosity. The alpha rumbled. He made a sound of approval. He stepped back. He allowed it. Jimmy is the successor. I'm passing the duty to him. I'm teaching him the signs. I'm teaching him the rules. I'm teaching him the language. I'm writing this because I don't have much time left. My heart is weak. My lungs are failing. The doctor says I have months, maybe a year. I want Jimmy to know. I want the world to know, in case something happens to him. I know how this sounds. I know you're skeptical. I know you want proof, but there is no proof. The humanoids are smart. They are cautious. They don't leave evidence. They don't pose for cameras. They don't speak to reporters. But they exist. They are real. They are intelligent. They are noble. They are worthy of protection. They are not monsters. They are neighbors. They are guardians of the wild. They are the keepers of the secret. I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm asking you to listen. I'm asking you to respect the woods. I'm asking you to understand that there are things in this world that we don't know. Things that are hidden. Things that are watching. The humanoid saved my life. He gave me purpose. He gave me a bond that transcends species. He taught me that loneliness isn't the end. It's the beginning of connection. I wouldn't trade my life for anything. I wouldn't trade the secret for fame. I wouldn't trade the silence for noise. I lived a life that was impossible. I lived a life that was true. And now, the legacy passes. Jimmy is ready. The new humanoid is young. He is playful. He is curious. He is learning. The bond continues. There are others. There are families in Appalachia. There are families in the Pacific Northwest. There are families in the Ozarks. We are scattered. We are isolated. But we are connected. We share the secret. We share the duty. We are the keepers. If you hear a rumble in the woods, if you see a shadow that stands too straight, if you find a gift that doesn't belong, listen, respect, protect. The humanoid is out there. He has always been out there. He is waiting. He is watching. And I'm glad. I'm glad I saw him. I'm glad I helped him. I'm glad I kept the secret. If this kept you up at night, if this made you question the world, then you're part of this too. You're part of the network. You're part of the secret. Thank you for listening. Thank you for believing, even if just for a moment. My name is Gerald. I'm 68 years old. I've kept the secret for 40 years, and I'm ready to rest. The woods are quiet. The humanoid is watching, and I am safe. End of testimony.